Okay.
Moving faster than I am this meeting. Commissioner Mast.
Here.
Commissioner Zender.
Here.
Commissioner Hagedorn.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Howell.
Here.
Commissioner Nisley.
Here.
Chairman Coleman.
Here. Well, Commissioner Howell will lead us in Pledge of Allegiance, and we have Pastor DeFord here to lead us in prayer. And if you want to come up to the podium to pray after Pledge of Allegiance. Or actually, you pray first, I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is reversed on our agenda here.
Heavenly Father, we're grateful to be able to live in a beautiful place like Lapeer County. Thankful for the beautiful day that you've given us today. And Lord, I'm so grateful for those who serve our community. Thank you for our county commissioners. Lord, I pray that they would be able to hear and understand the desires of their constituents, that they would hear and understand, more importantly, Lord, your Holy Spirit. Would you give them wisdom to honor you with their discussion, their debate, their decisions. Give them the discernment to make decisions based on what you desire for our community. Lord, I pray that you'd give them strength and resolve to stand against any wickedness that would try to press itself upon our community. And Lord, I pray today that we would honor and glorify the name of Jesus Christ in everything that we do. Thank you, Lord, once again for your goodness, your love, your grace, your mercy. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor DeFord. And for the record, I was reversed. The agenda was correct in the order of prayer and pledge of allegiance. So, do we have any items to add to the agenda this morning?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Support. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carried. Consideration of the draft minutes from the April 13th meeting, committee of the whole. We have a motion there.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 13th, 2023.
Support. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carried. And the distribution and review of overnight travel requests should be coming around here. If anyone has any questions on those, please let one of us know. Department head updates. Any department heads here this morning would like to comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. Greetings from Sheriff McKenna, who had a previous commitment this morning, so he's unable to be here. Just a few updates from last week. We had 25 arrests throughout the county. One was from Elmont, one from Emily City, one from Lapeer City, 14 from the Sheriff's Office, 4 from the Michigan State Police, 1 from Dryden Township, 2 in Metamora Township, and 1 Lapeer Township. There were 11 felonies and 14 misdemeanors. We made a total of 101 traffic stops and investigated 28 accidents. With new court security, we prevented 23 edge weapons from entering, 2 pepper spray, 1 firearm, and we screened 2,437 people last week. I would like to just put a shout out to John Bussell and his crew from Buildings and Grounds. They've done a fantastic job in the jail. They're just about done, and we can't be more thankful for the work that they put in. And it was time consuming for them, and I just want to make sure that we said thank you to them. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other department heads like to comment this morning?
Good morning, Commissioners. Rachel Horton, Animal Control. I have a couple of updates for you. One, we're still running our Bissell Empty the Shelter event. It runs until May 15th. So right now, anything in the shelter that is spayed, neutered, vaccinated, and microchipped is just $25. It has helped us place a lot of animals in the last couple of weeks because we are getting them in very fast right now with it being springtime. Your 2 ACOs have also been extremely busy out inspecting all of your commercial kennel inspections. In this county, we have a little over 50 that have to be manually inspected. I'm glad to report that almost all of our kennels in this county are absolutely beautiful. They're very well kept. Those people are very proud dog owners. They do boarding, trading, breeding, whatever their kennel purpose is. Most of them are very, very nice. So that's always great to see in Lapeer County. Last update is that we just got new windows at Animal Control. So that's super exciting because my window was actually broken and didn't work. It wouldn't close. So John Bustle, excellent. Todd Glass came in, they knocked it out in 2 days, and those windows are beautiful now, so when you come to our building, it looks really nice now. All right, have a good day, guys.
Thank you. Any other department heads like to comment this morning? Okay, seeing none, moves us to our first public time. Is there anybody who would like to comment during the first public time?
Hello again, my name is Grace, and I'm a lifetime resident of Lapeer County. During public time, we speak to our elected officials to shine a spotlight on the issues of our heart. Whether it's books, Boy Scouts, or broadband, we come to speak and we hope our voices are heard. The issue pressing on my heart is General Square Park, Forest Hall, and Dryden. It is a beautiful park, donated by General Squire himself, a park for the people, but it is suffering. Please go see it for yourself. I realize that the neglect is in part due to the lack of funding in the years past, but that is no longer the case. The funds are available and work needs to be done before the hall suffers irreversible damage. Many of you know that there's a tremendous amount of ARPA funds. Our county is working to put that money to good use. Part of that money is given to Michigan specifically for parks, Sparks grants from the DNR. Already, Lapeer Parks has received $767,000, but there's more. $23 million available for public recreational improvement projects for Michigan. The $23 million is a new grant. Applicants are open from May 1st through June 26th. And the good news is that Lapeer has recently hired Emergency Management Coordinator Sarah Whaley as part of her responsibilities as grant writing. I've spoken with Mrs. Whaley and emailed her grant information. As you can imagine, the wheels of the government runs slow. Each person needs to wait for another department to proceed, and I urge you not to let these funds slip through our fingers. Regardless of what you think about government spending, this money is already earmarked. So basically, we seek out the funds for the rich, well-staffed counties like Oakland County will. So yes, I want to alert the board members about this grant, but that doesn't mean I want us to wait around and watch our parks get neglected while we wait for funds. We have resources now to invest in our parks. Currently, the beautiful, historical, 103-year-old dance hall with tin ceilings and hardwood floors and a fieldstone fireplace and a wraparound porch is not even open for new rentals. Why? Because of dilapidated condition. This charming building cannot wait for repairs. And let's remember that the Lapeer Land Bank has expressed interest in helping financially with these restorations. So yes, I encourage you to pursue funds, but in the meantime, let's maintain our parks and keep them open and functioning. We don't need to wait for a huge grant to fix a broken window, replace the rotting 4x8 sheets of wood on the porch. So please let us prioritize landmarks with historical significance. So make a move, get General Square open for business. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public like to comment during the first public time?
I'm Kelly Aldis from Deerfield Township. I'm here at the suggestion of Gary Howell, the Township Board, and Rachel from Animal Control. So to tell you a little bit about the issue, we've been having an issue for almost 5 years with aggressive dogs in our neighborhood. And when I say neighborhood, I live on over 40 acres and my yard is about 5 acres. So for these dogs to get to my house, they have to travel an expanse of about a football field long, a couple of pole barns, and a tree line. So about 4 years ago, somebody moved in and they had 7 large breed aggressive dogs that they do not leash and do not keep on their property. They have pinned my special needs daughter against the pole barn. They don't let my other daughter to the car. I have to carry mace when I leave my house. We have made, myself and the neighbors have made numerous reports to the township, to animal control, and to the police. After about a year or so of this, they went down. They might have still had 7 dogs, but they wouldn't let my older daughter to her car in the pre-dawn light. My husband had to walk her out. When she finally shot in the air, let her get to the car, they charged him and he had to shoot one of the dogs, which was a horrible experience. The township finally made them go down to 5 dogs. And so they were still, the ordinance is 3 dogs, they were still unleashed. And after about 3 years of that, numerous complaints, the animal control being out, animal control has been fantastic. The police being out, them being cited several times, that's when they pinned my daughter to the pole barn. And the only thing, I do not know what these dogs are gonna do. You never know when they're gonna pop up, and no one seems to be able to make them stop. Eventually, we were told that unless they bit one of us, there was nothing we could do. So we were just waiting to be bitten for these dogs to be taken away. Eventually, they did bite somebody on their own property, so the animal control took away one of the dogs. It was deemed not dangerous and given back. So they did, after about 3 years of this, almost 4, animal control did make them go down to 3 dogs. So now they only have 3 dogs, but again, they're not leashed. Sometimes they are, most of the time they're not. So we don't leave our house without mace in our hands. The police, the local police told us we shouldn't leave our house unarmed. So if I use my pond, or any of the numerous nieces that I have come over to use the pond, they're always supposed to have a gun with them. My cognitively impaired daughter, who uses the basketball hoop, is always supposed to have a gun with her. That's just not realistic. So on Monday, my husband went out, who's considerably larger than I am, and they charged him, and he had his big work boots on and was able to kick one in the face. It did not leave until the neighbor eventually came out of the house. And again, this is a football-sized area they have to come to. Is that my time?
You have 10 more seconds.
To come to get to us. So he went to the township meeting on Monday and said, this has happened again, this is what's going on. And they suggested, they have talked about enforcing an aggressive animal ordinance, which Rachel from Animal Control has done a lot of work on, and is a very good ordinance. And the township on Monday said that they're not going to be enacting that, they're waiting for the county commissioners to enact it. And so they suggested that I come here, tell my story, and ask you to enact that ordinance, because myself and all of the neighbors who've made all of the complaints with the police and everybody are just waiting for something to happen or something to be done.
Great, thank you for the information. Anyone else from the public like to comment during the first public time?
Morning, I'm Kendall Dufour. I'm the assistant pastor at Crossroads Baptist Church in Imlay City, and I came to bring some information and invite you to our 3rd annual celebration of sacrifice, honoring the warriors we knew. This is a Memorial Day weekend event, and we are very much so wanting to get more community involvement if possible. It is a 2-day military museum set up there in the lobby of our church. There's memorabilia from the Civil War all the way through present day, things from folded flags and firearms and photos and medals and uniforms and everything else. So this will be May 27th and 28th at Crossroads Baptist Church on Wire Road in Imlay City from 9 to 4. Also on that Sunday, May 28th at 10:45, we'll have a special Memorial Day weekend honorary service where we honor the veterans that have from our community who have passed, as well as those that are living. This year, last year we were honored to have then Representative Howell there with us, and to help us with that, did a fantastic job. This year we have Senator Kevin Daly, who will be there once again to help us honor our veterans. Representative and veteran Jamie Green will be present as well. Our VA Director Pete Curley will be there doing a presentation also. And then this year we have former 82nd Airborne Division Sergeant and Michigan's 2010 NCO of the Year, Jay Goldsboro, who's a veteran of Operations Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. He's going to be present to help us to honor our veterans, again, both living and past. What we could use is a lot of help with our display items. We want to display them as very honorably and professionally as we can, and we take very great care to do so. And what we look for are things from our community members to bring in that are memorabilia from their own time in service or from a loved one's time in service that we can display, make sure that it's notated who that belonged to and what branch of the service they were in and what they did for our country. We've gotten, like I said, everything from the Civil War on up through present day, and I think Gary could attest to this. We display them very well and very honorably, and so we're looking for as much involvement in that from our community as possible. Many times these things are sitting on a shelf somewhere for a long time and they may collect some dust, and the folks that live in that home are the only ones who get to appreciate the service of that person. But as a community, we want to be able to honor these people that did so much for our freedom and for our liberty. And so I want to invite you out to come to that, as well as if you know of any veterans or if you yourself, we would love the opportunity to honor you and your service. If you have a family member past who served our country, we'd love the opportunity to honor them as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to comment during the first public time?
Cheryl Wynn, Marathon Township. This last week, we've been to a few public meetings, and there's a reason that public announcement, also known as PA systems, matter. The meetings that we recently attended, there's a member of the board who has limited hearing abilities. And when he needs something clarified or repeated, and this has happened at almost every meeting, there are people on the board and in the public that snicker or shake their heads. And I'd just like to know whatever happened to the compassion that we've been preached about the last 3 or 4 years. And PA systems matter. And when you know, just like in years prior, when someone has been on this board and they're like, we need to, Linda, maybe, just please repeat that. So it's just important that everyone hears. Can't make good decisions if you don't have all the information. And I know there's a lot of decisions coming up that are financial decisions that you have to make, and they're being made all over the country right now. When a board member votes no on spending money on something they know is not financially responsible, people who want that particular item say they are standing in the way of progress. Well, in the South, there's a saying, we're living in high cotton. I think that is what some of our elected officials have thought with all these gifts from the federal government. The problem is that the elected officials are living on the cotton that the taxpayers grew. They're also going to find out that some of that cotton is really polyester. And again, we bring up, because in our township, they just put a moratorium on short-term rentals, Airbnb, whatever, a moratorium of 6 months so they can work on a zoning ordinance. But it's okay for someone to purchase a piece of land, destroy the environment, and put up 45 tiny short-term rentals, calling them a campground. But someone who owns their home can't rent it out as the same short-term rental. That is hypocrisy. Whatever happened to property rights? We hear it depends on the person. This person's property rights matter, but this person's property rights don't. And I just think as we go forward and make some of these decisions, we need to think of the overall community. It's hypocrisy.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to comment during the first public time? Okay, we're going to close the first public time. That brings us.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Hall.
we had a department head report a little while ago. You and I share representation of Deerfield Township. They've had this huge ongoing problem with dogs up there that was touched on by one of our residents. I wonder if we could have Director Horton kind of give us a briefing on that while she's here and the issue was timely.
Absolutely, sure.
So you guys know, it's not a secret, we did start out with 7 very aggressive dogs on Oliver Road. Okay, those dogs were straying, they were actively charging, growling, being horrible to neighbors, okay? We have worked with that resident as much as we can to reduce those dogs down from 7 down to 3. We got the female spayed, microchipped. She's in a kennel because she did bite a child. It was a very minor, superficial bite, but we used that in court as leverage to basically force him to kennel her. Okay, so that was court ordered. She has to be kenneled when she's outside. His other males do have an invisible fence. We had to install that. They're also supposed to be on chains in case they go through that invisible fence or that collar ever fails. and then he had to neuter them. All 3 of those dogs are licensed now. We have repeatedly given him civil infractions, we've escalated it to misdemeanors, he's repeatedly fought us in court over all of these infractions. And until they bit somebody, we did not have any leverage in court to deem those dogs aggressive or to make him get rid of them. I cannot enforce a township ordinance that says how many number of dogs you have. We do not have a county number of dogs that says how many dogs you can have. So in this county, you can have as many dogs as you want, depending on the township that you live in, unless they have their own ordinance. In Deerfield, it's 3, okay? So Deerfield Township did enforce that. We worked with them to rehome those dogs and euthanized some of them because they were aggressive. Got it down to 3, we spayed and neutered them, we put up a kennel, we put up an invisible fence, we put them on chains. And then there was another incident, which unfortunately was very miscommunicated, but they thought that they strayed last week. Upon further investigation, it was determined that those were not his dogs that strayed. So we did try to contact that family, the neighbors, we tried to the dog owner and said, were these your dogs? And he said no. He actually provided video and photo evidence of them not being his dogs. I then FOIA'd the report from Central Dispatch, that phone call, because I was trying to determine, okay, well, are these dogs aggressive? And I got 2 very different versions of that story. So unfortunately, we don't know who that dog owner is, but now it's a different situation where we have one person that has aggressive dogs, and now we have another neighbor that also has stray dogs, and they have 4 of them. So you guys know that I've been working on a vicious dog ordinance, because for the state law, for me to determine a dog as dangerous, then you have to bite somebody. So then that goes to court, and a judge determines if they're dangerous. We don't have a vicious dog ordinance. We've been working with the prosecutor on getting that, and that basically would dictate any behavior such as, biting, snarling, growling, charging could be deemed as vicious, and then we could force you to rehome your dog, have, an excessive amount of liability insurance, and also put up a kennel. I did send all that out to you guys. I've been working with the prosecutor on it. Also, the magistrate has a copy of it. We're trying to get some feedback so that that's a good, strong ordinance, so that in a year from now, we're not changing it. So that's my update for you guys. If you have questions, contact me directly. I'm happy to give you the full report. You can FOIA my documents. You can see everything we've done.
Commissioner Howell?
Yeah, I really appreciate what you've done. I know it's been a difficult problem. Like you said, the township does have a 3-dog ordinance. They went to court, got an injunction. That's a permanent order as to that property. But the problem is much bigger, as you're describing. Until I was at a meeting on Monday, I didn't realize that you had done all this work on a draft county ordinance, which I appreciate you sending to us. But this thing is going on forever, it seems like. I don't think the current commissioners, until just the last couple of days, even knew there was an ordinance in play. Why is it taking so long to get this done?
There is not a county in the state of Michigan right now that has adopted a vicious dog ordinance, only individual cities and townships. So we're looking at the liability aspect of it. I have been trying to work with the prosecutor and get some feedback so that this is gonna be a good sound ordinance going forward. It's not gonna bite us later. So we're waiting to get some more feedback from our magistrate, the fun. The magistrate, the prosecutor. We want it to be sound, we don't want it to be changing, and we also don't want to be put in a position where now you guys have granted me all of this power to deem dogs vicious, and I just go out and kill everything and lock them up. Like, we don't want that either. We want that very well stipulated, and we want it to be sound, so.
Commissioner Maslin?
Is Deerfield Township more reluctant to enforce or strengthen their ordinance there, and other townships as well?
I know that they asked me to attend a meeting last fall. I did. I presented them multiple examples of similar vicious dog ordinances, very specifically the one for the city of Livonia, because that's my favorite one. They were looking at adopting that. I know that they had a couple of board meetings that they told me that they were going to adopt it, and then it sounds like it got held up with their lawyer and it got tabled. So I talked to Jason Parks on Monday and Tuesday, and that was the update that he gave me. So it sounds like they kind of had the same issues that I had, where it got held up a little bit on the language of it and the liability aspect of it, and they wanted to table it. They actually wanted to see what the county pulled, because it would be wise for the county to adopt an ordinance so that all the townships fell under that versus them adopting their own individual ones.
She's exactly right. The township wants to get involved in this. Of course, the animal control has got more resources and expertise than the township does. But the township's approach is they'd like to see the county make a decision, then they could mirror it.
Mhm.
So we don't want to have two different definitions and be going in two different directions. So if we could get an update maybe in a month or so and let us know what feedback you're getting.
I did, ask additional people in this building to review it. So right now, both magistrates have it, hoping to hear back from them soon and see if they have any, additional language. Because not only did I update the fish stock ordinance, but I also updated our exotic animal ordinance, because if you guys are not aware, if 911 gets sent to a house right now and they have exotic snakes on that property, we don't know about it. And then they want animals to come in and contain those animals, and we don't know what's there, we don't know if they're venomous, we don't know if they're, how they're supposed to be housed, who's responsible for them. So not only did I write a vicious dog ordinance, I also wrote a very extensive exotic animal ordinance. So it is a 2-part ordinance, it's pretty lengthy, that's why we're doing it all at once.
You said there's cities in the state that have a vicious dog ordinance?
Yes.
What's the closest city that you're at?
Sterling Heights has one, Troy has one, City of Livonia has one, Macomb County doesn't have one, there isn't a county one, I couldn't find a county one. It's specific cities, but I think Sterling Heights is our closest.
Right.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to have a county ordinance versus having 18 townships try to be on board.
Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like a problem that, we need to figure out.
So I'll give you guys an update as soon as I can move forward with it and I get permission to go ahead on it.
Great. Anybody else have any comments?
Any questions for me, guys? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to new business. We have Jerry Johnson from MSUE, District 10 Director, for a presentation update.
Good morning to all of you. Mr. Chairman, do I have permission to write
Yes,
your handouts?
yep, please.
I'm passing these out. I'm joined today by Bill Cates, who you can see behind me, and he'll be coming up for a minute also to talk about a virtual breakfast program that's been very successful for our farming community in a minute. Glad we're getting all the road construction done. I got stopped on I-69 on the way here, just for, not for speeding, but just where they moved the semi truck in front of me. Which recognize Commissioner nicely, because I used to fly Delta a lot. Oh. Like a real pilot, space. That's amazing. Last but not least. Great. You also, when we were here in February with 4-H, you saw our annual report, so you have a copy of that. Just from a kind of a highlight for last year in Lapeer County, I did want to let you know, and this is on the cover of your report, that you have 200 county youth enrolled with MSU Extension. MSU dispersed $3.3 million in financial aid to Lapeer County students. 1,258 MSU alumni live in Lapeer County. And the total economic impact of MSU and Extension to the county was $11.5 million in 2022. Not a number we come up with. That's the Economic Research Corridor, which is a combination of our 3 research universities. And it's a Anderson consulting group that ultimately puts out the numbers. So 3 documents in front of you. The one with all the numbers is, I think, the most important one for us, and that is the MSU Extension. It's our programming summary for calendar year 2022. So kind of a deeper dive into, we do a lot of different things. I know in the past, lots of commissioners really want to see some numbers. I appreciate that. So to guide you through it, at the top, you'll see we kind of are broken out into 4 larger buckets in the group. The first one is SNAP education. That is education that we provide to low-income youth and adults, folks that are eligible to receive food stamps and food assistance. And we always provide the educational component of that, right? How do you stretch your food dollar further? If you go to the grocery store, what should you buy, not buy, et cetera? You know, you all know, we went to college, but you leave college and you don't know how to manage 2 or 3 things. You don't know how to manage your time, at least I didn't. Don't know how to manage your personal finances, right? You can solve a math problem, but good luck budgeting your checkbook, right? And we help folks with that. How can I use my time better, my energy better, my resources better? Because we know it's not necessarily about what you have, it's what you have left over. So, but SNAP Ed's really important. I am proud to tell you that we did add another SNAP education individual to District 10. She started yesterday, and they moved through the counties, but now we're up to 4 people in District 10. And it's probably one of the strongest teams in the state. They really do a lot of good things. They partner in all 5 of our counties and definitely here as well. So you can see AABI, that's agriculture and agribusiness, that's next down. And that would be working with our producers, our farmers, like setting up things. We have annual meetings, but we also have individual meetings. There's resource, whether you're growing, you know, the thumb is probably the richest area agriculture-wise in the state of Michigan. Huron County, best dry bean county probably in the nation. Lapeer County, very strong in ag as well. Sanilac County, most soybeans in the state. 2 of our 5 counties in District 10, the thumb have more cows than people. Next down is community food environment. And one of the handouts I gave you references them. That's probably, we call it the junk drawer because there are a lot of different things. All of you have been through one of our courses because new commissioner school would be put on by CFE. So I met the 6 new commissioners there last December, whenever that was, in Frankenmuth. But we do things like tourism. Andy Northrup, who represents District 10, has done tourism programs with some of your towns. And obviously, if we're interested communities, we're always willing to set up new programming. And again, it's called the FIT program. It looks at when I'm new to a community, how friendly is it? And by that I mean, well, I want to ride a bike. Where do I rent bikes? I want to go to these restaurants. I want to go boating. How do I find out how to do that? That assessment has been very helpful, and towns have made impactful changes. This past year, for the first time, we did a FIT assessment of a fair. St. Clair County invited us out, and they made a number of changes to their fair based on the recommendations of this group. So Andy will get people that are outside the district and come in. So, right, might be familiar to us. He gets people that maybe where the thumb is a little bit different for them. CYI, that includes 4-H. You can see that, and we updated you on 4-H last time we were here. And then HNI is health and nutrition. So below that is the breakouts for those. So they're not a new set of numbers, but if you want to see the breakout, if there are any duplicates, we would eliminate those. So if you add them up and say, hey, you're off by 1, the math does work, but we would have eliminated duplicates. So you can see in AABI, these are just categories of different programming that we would offer, whether it's animal, ag, fruit, vegetable, environmental, etc. In HNI, we do things like food safety. For 4 of our 5 counties, if you have a restaurant and have to have somebody serve safe trained, we might be the only game in town, right? Definitely if you're in Huron, Tuscola, and Sanilac, but even Lapeer to a large extent. And in St. Clair, there'd be some other entities that could provide it, although some of them have ceased to operate. But you typically have to have somebody trained in that. If you do cottage food law, if you're trying to do home canning, they're taking courses from us. On the health side, things like stress less with mindfulness, relax alternatives to anger. These are 5 and 6 session courses, evidence-based, proven to help you manage that. In a number of our counties now, courts are referring people to us for the stress less with mindfulness course. And you have an option. You can go to a private and pay $1,000. You can go take our course and we're not going to charge you for it, right? It's a service, you paid for it. So I can tell you in St. Clair County, a number of the judges now are referring folks to that, and we would like to get that going here as well. Tuscola has started referring people to us. You know, these kids if they can learn how to manage some of these behavioral challenges, they can still have a successful life. So part of the way they manage it is learning they're going to be angry. What do you do with that? Where do you go with it? Because we all get angry. But you don't have to act on that anger. Community food environment, again, we do things like community food system. Thumb Food Policy Council got started by Extension and is currently run by a retired Extension employee. We do financial home ownership, government, community vitality, natural resources, and then Sea Grant. 4 of our 5 counties are on the Great Lakes. This one is not, but we still have a lot of water in Lapeer County, and we do a lot of water programming with our Sea Grant folks. So again, it's something that's always available. And then finally, you can see children and youth at the bottom, again, which we updated you on. Sarah Griffin has been here now for, 1 and 2 years, but she's done a really good job in this county. She really came in and hit the ground running. So you got a good 4-H program. Jean Creener will be retiring in August. She's our part-time 4-H, so we are gonna, we'll post that and we'll fill that position. So that is also coming your way. And then you can see on the back, I'm not gonna read through this because you can read faster, but when you fund us and, MSU Ag Bio Research, we do lots of research on campus if you've been there, whether it's swine, cattle, poultry, you name it, lots of acres, we do research there. And on the right is extension. And what is extension? Extension is education. That's what it is. You won't see us just giving something away and not providing education alongside it. So you should definitely think of us in that context. And then finally, before I have Phil come up, our district last year, I can tell you, we reached about 4.3% of our residents in District 10. I believe Lapeer was slightly higher, closer to 4.5. Extension on the whole, we reached about 3%. So I'm very proud of that reach. And all of our districts are on the rise. COVID definitely had a big impact on us, just like it did our school systems. But District 10, we're very aggressive at reaching out and let people know the programs are there and they're there for their benefit. And we have really good staff. We have very low turnover, and we have committed high-quality staff in all 5 of our counties. The last thing is, please use us for benchmarking and networking for your sister counties as well. I know your counterparts fairly well in all the other counties, and I'm happy to make connections. Just 2 weeks ago, we hosted a small meeting between St. Clair County and Sanilac County. I hosted it, wasn't about extension, we didn't ask for anything, but it was really to look at St. Clair County, maybe been a little more successful with economic development than Sanilac, and we're looking for ideas, both wanted to improve. So we had both board chairs were there, Jeff Bohm and also John Block. We had another board member or 2 there, the EDA officer was there, and the county administrator was there. But we had a very good meeting. It was scheduled for an hour, it went 2 hours, and they've asked me to set up another one. I'd be more than happy to do the same, Chairman Colon, if you wanted to with Tuscola or St. Clair, to the extent you think it would be beneficial. They found it very beneficial. So, just leaving that out there. So, time is money. I'm going to have Phil Cates come up. We've got a real successful program, and it runs every Thursday morning in the growing season. And if you didn't have any questions, I was going to let Phil come up and tell you about that. I'll stop there.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Some of you I've met, some of you I haven't met, so I look forward to having a chance to meet all of you through the times that I'm here. I'm a Lapeer resident. I live in Oregon Township, and my office is based here in Lapeer, but I have a much wider area as far as my coverage area when I work for Extension. One of the things people ask me all the time, what does an extension educator actually do? And I have to say, well, my job, like Jerry said, is education. How do you bring research-based information that's held at the university to the county? I look at myself as a liaison. How do you translate scientific material and put it into common sense, usable information that the farmers can take to the field and promote better income, better viability, higher production? Those are the kinds of things that I'm involved with on a weekly basis, and really coordinate that with a lot of different educators throughout not only the Thumb, but Michigan. And one of the ways that I do that is a program called the Virtual Breakfast. In 2018, we had a meeting, and there were some young farmers there, and they said, we want information quicker. We want it fast, and we want it in short blocks. All right, so what do? So I put together, in combination with all the other educators and actually specialists from MSU, the field crops team, and said, we're gonna host something every Thursday morning. and it's gonna be 30 minutes. And they said, well, that's not enough time. Well, that's what we did. It was a short start. We averaged 22 participants that first year. That's nothing to write home about. I went to meetings and I said, how many have heard of this? And I only saw one hand raised in a crowd of 120, and I said, we've got to do a better job promoting. Well, I think we've done that. We're averaging 209 participants every week right now. So we will probably be over 5,000 participants for the season this year of farmers that are gathering information on a weekly basis that goes towards production practices, that goes towards improved efficiency and improved profitability. Those are the things that we're really concentrating on, and it's a wide range of topics. Every week's different. And so this morning, we talked about, I know this is thrilling to all of you, okay, nitrogen in soybeans. Okay, it's maybe not thrilling to you, but it is to me. And we had about 200 people that participated this morning. So another good example of what farmers are looking for. And when you think about it, we're right in the heart of planting season, and they took their time out this morning to participate, and we're there for the entire hour. So that means a lot. So we've seen that program grow, and it's not just the numbers, because we've had, I'm gonna say upwards of 30,000 people participate because we use social media, we use email, we use recorded sessions, we have YouTube, all included in this program. I felt it was very successful. I was able to submit this for our National Association of all the county agriculture educators across the country, and it's the national winner for a Search for Excellence. So it's an excellent program that is looked at by its peers. What does that mean for us personally here in the county of Lapeer? How many people are participating? And throughout the thumb area, we have farms that will really cover multiple counties. Farmers are using bigger machinery. They're covering more acres, covering more areas. We may have farms that cover 2 or 3 counties where they farm. So these numbers represent that. In 2022, Sand Lake, St. Clair, Tuscola, Lapeer, and Huron were the top 5 counties for virtual breakfast. We had 140 participants from Lapeer County that participated during those programs. So even though our numbers are not what they are in Sand Lake, Huron, and Tuscola, we were still very well represented. And I think the farmers are appreciative and given me a lot of positive feedback. So what does that mean from an efficiency? It's hard to tell. How do you gauge that on a year-to-year basis? Commissioner Howell has been farming for a long time, and that's a tough question to answer, but we try to do our best. And so we try to put some metrics towards that. 99% had improved education and information and knowledge. 77% said they were going to make changes that were influenced from this program. That's a big number. From that, we had people that said, I'm going to put a dollar value on what this means to me. And we had over $7 million of total impact on this program, which was approximately $15 per acre. If you have a farmer that's farming 1,000 acres, which is not a huge farm today, it's above average, but it's not the biggest, it's not the smallest. That's $15,000 that can go towards one person's salary or towards health insurance or something else on their farm. So it's really been a terrific program, and I expect that it's going to continue to grow as time goes on. What else do we do? I have direct contacts that I have from county residents. So far this year, 57 direct contacts. We have other programs where participants are joining, and we've had the Great Lakes 4-H Conference, the Crop and Pest Management update, Hay Production 101, which is another online program. We had a program just recently, tile drainage for improved water quality removal, looking at our environment. These are all things that we're working with. We have farms that are participating in research. We have 2 farms in the county that are working with precision agriculture. They're using drones on one of these farms to spray their farms for weeds. Now, that's a big deal. This is new and improved technology that you don't see in a lot of different places. And then we also have on-farm research that's being done on a regular basis. So beyond that, I work across the state as a 4-H educator, answering questions from people all over the state, from the UP down to Southeast and Southwest Michigan. And I think I've even talked to the Howells once. So anyway, with that, any questions or comments?
Yeah, so currently Lapeer County is not enrolled in this program. Is that correct? Lapeer County is not involved?
Oh, I am in Lapeer County.
Okay, I thought you had mentioned that Lapeer County doesn't utilize
Oh,
your services.
No, I have contacts with Lapeer County farmers, not on a daily basis, but every week I'm in contact with farmers throughout this county. I'm gonna say 90% of all politics is local, and being around is part of it. And I live and work in Lapeer County and know the farmers in Lapeer County and know them well, and have for a lot of years. So I coordinate that program. So I run it from my office.
I misheard you, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Commissioner Thunder?
So first off, Phil, thank you for what you do. I know you work very hard at what you do. If you talk to some of your constituents who are farmers, I think you will find that the majority of them will praise Mr. Cates and what he does. I do have one question regarding your virtual breakfast.
Sure.
So is that a recorded thing? So like if farmer was busy at that particular time, can he go back and watch that later or no?
Absolutely. We have, every session is recorded, it's closed captioned. We make sure that it's available on our website that very day, so that if they're in their combine, their tractor, and I will have people that are planning today that are in their tractors using GPS controlled guidance systems. So they start and they let the machine take over. They'll listen to it on a podcast, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. MSUE has a podcast as well on a weekly basis. We try and utilize every form of media possible to get this information into the hands of those that want it and need it.
Thank you. And then just one more thing, just another little shout out to Phil. When we did the household hazardous cleanup, he was there helping at that event as well. Huge help there too.
Great.
And I can certainly testify as well. Phil is very well known in Lapeer County. I realize he covers a broader area, but we're fortunate. He lives here. And while he is way more techie than I am, having a person that I know that I can call in our county has been a great benefit to a lot of farmers.
Half the battle's being there.
Great to know.
And that's one of the reasons why my cell phone is open to anybody. Yes, sir.
So you just focus on farmers or just ordinary persons just wants to have a garden in their yard? Do they contact you if they need to know anything or?
Within MSU Extension, my expertise is in field crops. And so I work primarily with field crop producers and agribusinesses. Now, if there's a person that has a homeowner question on a lawn, if I'm in the office and somebody comes in, I will certainly talk to them if I'm there. If I'm not there, we have people that are available throughout MSU and Extension that are available to answer those questions. We have a hotline during the summertime where people can have that answer, talk to them directly. We have an educator that's based in Genesee County that will be available for us. He has coverage throughout Lapeer County. But the dollars are such that we don't have the opportunity to have a horticulture educator, a field crops educator, and all the things that we used to have. It's just not feasible. But if they want to ask a question, I can answer it. But there are other people that can assist me at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you, and go green.
Go white. You betcha.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it. Okay, second thing on the new business here, we have a district court community corrections request to approve and renew the annual fiscal year 2024 community corrections grant for the period October 1st, 2023 to September 20, 2024. Maureen, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Nothing has really changed on it with the grant, within the grant, excuse me, drop my glasses. They are requesting now to receive a little more, trying to start a pretrial service program here, which will be covered by the grant. Pretrial services works with the courts. They help the courts know, looking at bonds, things like that, help if we've ordered testing. We put somebody on bond, we want them to drop on drug testing. They come in on a drug charge, or there's a second drunk driving, we need them to do that. They follow up with that, make sure they're following through with everything. I think it would be wonderful to have here. So we're hoping we can get some grant money to start those small and see if we can go from there.
Can you expand a little bit on the pretrial services? I know I sat in on the.
So that's truly what pretrial services work hand in hand with courts. So there would be someone and they have 10 questions and they'll look through the questions. How many prior criminal charges do you have? What are the type of charges? Things like that. So then they give us, they will give to the magistrate or the judge, whoever is arraigning them, this is where we feel bond should be set. Of course, the magistrate or judge can say, no, I don't agree with this. I think it should be this way or this way. But a lot of counties follow this and they're pretty odd. They know where they need to be. They work with them. They look at the history. It's truly about the criminal history, the seriousness of the crime, everything. It gives us something to go on when we're setting bond. And then they follow through with that. They follow them when they're on bond. It takes a while to go through the criminal process. It's not instant overnight. It could be 6 months until they're sentenced. Or until they take a plea or go to trial or whatever they happen. Until then, they're still on bond. And their pretrial services is following that. They're following if we have ordered, like I said, testing. Someone comes in on a drug charge, we want them to drop. We're gonna do random testing to make sure that they're not using during this time. Pretrial services will get the report, they would follow that. If they're with GPS. Right now, Mr. Stevens follows GPS as much as he can, but it's not 24 hours. We don't pay him to do it for 24 hours. I don't expect it for 24 hours. So they could look at that also. We could have someone looking at nighttime to see, okay, GPS now this person is where they're not supposed to be. We can do GPS and we can do a drug tether too, so they can help with that.
Okay.
I'll move it. Hang it on support.
Any discussion on that?
So this is just a renewal?
Yes, we just put it this time we requested a little extra for the pretrial services, but everything else is the renewal, everything else will remain the same.
How much is the extra? You know?
30, look right here, at 39.5.
And just for people in the public, like, so they're educated on what's the goal of pretrial services?
The goal is to have, right now, we have a large, let me word this right. So the goal is to have everyone return on when you're scheduled for a pretrial, if they're a misdemeanor, coming back to court on time. The goal is not to have to issue warrants because we have failure to appears. Our failure to appears are higher right now. We don't have anybody to be able to say, hey, where are you? Pretrial services can be following these. Right now, if someone doesn't appear, they're put into warrant status and they go on a lien. And until they're picked up by a police agency, they're in the lien. Our goal is to have everyone returning to court. And that's what we'd like to see, and that pretrial services helps with that.
With this grant, is there a revenue created through this? Like, is there any way that any of this money comes back?
It comes back through the state to pay for this visit, to that. I'll say revenue, yes, because now we're getting defendants to return, to follow through their proceeding, and there's fines and costs, and that's the revenue that we have. And that's what we want to see. Right now, I don't know if everyone's aware, there's a set aside right now. 7 years for misdemeanors, 10 years for felonies, automatic. So, and I understand that 7 years, we haven't seen this person in 7 years, right? They might be in warrant status right now. We have to wipe that out, along with the fines and costs. yep, it's 7 years, it's probably uncollectible, but it's not always. Sometimes there might be, okay, we've picked you up, it's 10 years ago, but we still have you in warrant status, now we're gonna bring you in and we get our fines and costs. Now that's not gonna be there for us because of this automatic set aside. The fines and costs go when the automatic set aside is done. This would work to stop that, so we don't have so many people in warrant status. So they're appearing for their court dates. There are different ways to help too. There's different programs that can send text reminders or send, everyone has a phone, no matter what, there's a phone, text reminder, hey, you have a court hearing this date, come. You're still gonna get people who say, I don't care, but it might help those who are like, I truly just forgot, or I just, that is the goal.
Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is the Health Department's request acceptance of the Region 10 PIHP contract amendment number 8 for $25,900.
Good
Morning,
morning.
Kathy.
Do you have any questions regarding? This, like your VAAA that talked about last month, periodically, Region 10 also adjusts depending on how monies are spent. In this particular case, Todd can correct me if I'm misspeaking, but awards are given at the beginning of the fiscal year. Not all providers use all their funds. And so Todd is able to go out and request additional units as we're able to use them so that we can capture additional funds. Is that pretty accurate?
Yes, that's pretty close, Kathy, yeah.
So that's what this is an increase in our original for the prevention services that they provide.
What is a unit?
So Commissioner, in regards to the Region 10 PHP, a unit is a 15-minute increment. So 4 units equal 1 hour of direct service.
Do we have a motion or comments?
I'll move it.
Support.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, next up, number 4, we have Stephanie Hamilton from GLTA here to discuss the new program, Rides to Wellness. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephanie Hamilton. I am the mobility coordinator for GLTA. What that means is I am essentially a social worker for transportation. GLTA brought me in back in the end of October last year. We wanted to launch a program called Rides to Wellness. What does that mean? Well, it sounds like I am able to transport you to all of your doctor's appointments, but it is a lot more than that. Trips that I can provide are not only trips to doctor's appointments, but also trips to the pharmacy, trips to the grocery store, the farmer's market, all qualifying trips. So I wanted to just touch a few bullet points of our program. To start with our hours. So I am in the office Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. That's going to be when you can get in touch with me to book a trip to your doctor or any other qualifying trips that you might have. We will transport anybody in Lapeer County. If you are a resident of Lapeer County, I am able to transport you where you need to go. My jurisdiction of where I can take you, not only can I go anywhere in Lapeer County, but I also can go to any of the surrounding counties. Sanilac, St. Clair, Tuscola, Genesee, Macomb, Oakland, all of those counties. So I'm able to transport to surrounding counties as well. In fact, I want to say 80% of my trips have been to Genesee County in either Davison or Flint. So the next thing that I wanted to touch on are our fares. And I hope I get a chance to finish because I know this sounds like quite a bit. So if your trip is within Lapeer County, the fares are $15 each leg of the trip is what I call it. So to get you from your residence to your destination is $15. To get you from your destination back home is another $15. When you go outside of the county to one of our surrounding counties, that 15 turns into 25. So $25 gets you from your home to destination, 25 destination to home. And it does sound like a lot, especially when we're trying to cater to the senior citizens, the disabled, and those who might be on a fixed income. So I have been spending a majority of my time, a lot of my time with GLTA, developing partnerships, so that way I have some source of funding to cover that trip for the residents of Lapeer County. I have made partnerships with the MDHHS, Carmanos, the Child Advocacy Center, and I'm working on more partnerships every day, so that way I am able to assist those who might not have means to get to that doctor's appointment otherwise. For example, I have a young lady in North Branch who has been going to Marlette. I want to say 2-3 times a week for her chemo and radiation treatment. That's not something that she would be able to accomplish without this program. So I think very highly of it, and I'm very grateful that I'm able to take care of that for her and help her. Because when you have something like that, you have enough to worry about. So I want to make sure that that's one less thing on your plate to have to worry and stress about. I just wanted to touch briefly on our trip process. So the story is if you have, in order to book a trip, you have to give me a call. I did provide a brochure to each of the commissioners. There are some more, plus my business cards on the back where the agendas were. My phone number is in the red at the bottom. All you have to do to book a trip is give me a call. My next step is going to be finding funding for it, because I don't want to book a trip and then the day of the trip you find out, oh, I have to pay $30 to have this trip. So I want to make sure that we know that before the trip is actually booked. That's my second step. Once I have approval for funding, I'll book the trip, give you a call with your pickup times. On the day of your appointment, let's say that you have a 10 o'clock appointment. My driver will arrive at your residence to pick you up between 9:45 and 10:15. We allow just, goodness knows you get behind the train, weather gets bad, road conditions get bad, construction. We want to make sure that we have that cushion to accommodate making sure that we get there on time. We'll get there as close as we can to your pickup. Once he arrives, he'll come up, knock on your door, assist you from your residence to the vehicle, and then he'll secure anything if you have a walker or a wheelchair or an oxygen tank or a cane. My driver will make sure that everything is secured. He will then take you to your destination and assist you from the vehicle to the door of your destination. Now, the one thing that I have to make sure that it's pretty clear is that my drivers are not able to cross the threshold into your residence and into the facility, the destination that he took you to. And the reason for that is they have to maintain visuals on the vehicle at all times. So just for liability and safety reasons, that's the policy that we have. I have ways, for example, I had somebody who they have a larger oxygen tank on wheels, but they're not able to get to the second floor of the facility to their appointment. So that's when the driver would radio me, let me know that they had arrived. I will personally make that call to the doctor's office in that instance. Your patient is here. Could you please head downstairs and they will assist you further within the building. There will also be a scheduled pickup time. So let's say your appointment is done at noon. So my driver will then be there between the hours between 11:45 and 12:15. Again, allowing for that cushion. Same process in reverse. They'll secure everything, transport you back home, and assist you to the door of your residence. So when my driver arrives at either your residence or your destination, after they knock on the door or when they arrive, they will wait up to 3 minutes after after the scheduled pickup time. And if there is no response or there is no visual on the patient or passenger, he will then radio me and let me know. I'll make the call. My driver's here to pick you up. Did you still need your trip? And then after that, he will have to proceed to the next transportation, the next trip, because we are still public transportation, so we're trying to accommodate as many as we can. Now, I kind of have that 3 minutes written in the sand. If you just need a second to put your shoes on, that's one thing. If you answer the door in your bathrobe and towel, give me a few minutes to get dressed and dry my hair. We can't wait that long. We're trying to make sure that we accommodate as many people as we can. So there's a little give in that. So that kind of brings us to our my no-show policy. If by some chance you are unable to keep your trip, you have up until 30 minutes before your scheduled pickup time. So if your pickup time is 10 a.m., you have until 9:30 to call me and say, you know what, I don't need your trip. There will be no penalty for that. Same thing with your trip home. And that's not only canceling the trip, but that's to extend your pickup time. Because Lord knows doctors don't always necessarily run on time. Things happen. And we understand that. So it's the same thing. I'm not going to be ready to go home at 12. I might need till 12:30, quarter to 1. You have until 11:30 in that instance to call me and ask for more time, and I'll do my absolute best to accommodate that. If you give me less time than that, then unfortunately we do have to mark you as a no-show. And what will happen is that the provider who is funding your trip will be billed for that leg of the trip. So if you forgot to call me and cancel your trip in the morning, I will then be invoicing your whoever it was that funded your trip and letting them know. Now, for the record, that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't turn around and send you that bill. I can't guarantee that. That's something that's up to them to decide. Other than that, that's the basic ins and outs of the Rise to Wellness program. I definitely encourage, if you have any other groups that you would like me to speak with. I know Commissioner Zender invited me to speak with the Elmont Senior Citizens earlier this week, and it was wonderful, and I hope they got a lot out of it. I hope my big goal right now is to just make sure everybody knows that this is provided here. We're here to help, and there's no harm in even just giving me a call and letting me see if there's anything I can do to help. So if you have any questions, please, by all means, the phone number, like I said, on the back on the brochures. God bless you. My brochures and business cards are on the back. Please call me, send me an email. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. So thank you very much for your time.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any comments?
I would just like to thank Stephanie for explaining that to the Elmont seniors. I think they thought it was very beneficial to them. And I appreciate you so much for coming out and doing that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that brings us to item number 5A, which we have a request to approve or authorize payment to Shipman Fournier for labor-related services to April 30.
I'll make the motion.
I will move to authorize payment to Shipman Fournier in the amount of $1,800 for labor-related legal services.
Support.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. 5B, we have a request to award the community mental health re-roofing project to Family Building Company.
I'll move it.
Support. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next up is a request to adopt the resolution for the Village of Otter Lake to participate in the Genesee County Community Development Program to promote the improvement of housing and neighborhood conditions.
Is there anybody to explain that at all?
We have done this in the past. Basically, the village of Otter Lake is split between Genesee and Lapeer, so they can participate with one county or another. So we have done this resolution in the past to give Otter Lake the, I guess Lapeer County's permission for them to participate under the Genesee County, because I think a majority of their is in Genesee County.
Thank you.
This will cover a few years between 2024 and 2026.
So they can only qualify with one county
With
at a
one
time?
county,
Okay.
yes.
I'll move it.
Support, Hagadon.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. Will the clerk please call the roll? Thank you, Commissioner Zender.
Commissioner Zender,
Yes.
Commissioner Hagedon,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicely,
Yes.
Commissioner Mans,
Yes.
Chairman Coleman.
Yes. Okay, motion carried. Okay, next up, old business. We have Amy Sell, Talent Agency here to give us an update. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you all again. Based on your direction last time, we extended the search for about 6 weeks. We generated about an additional 75 applicants. About 25 of those we seriously considered, and we have provided a list of applicants that we are looking forward to discussing with you later today. Outcomes of that conversation could be interviews, and we would be looking at determining a schedule, hopefully on a week from today on the 18th, and then considering next steps out of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. Okay, additional items, number 7, we have prosecuting attorney wages discussion referred from the 427 full board.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Howell?
there are several interrelated issues here. We've had discussion about the pay adjustments for the chief assistant prosecutor and the assistant prosecutors. We're now presented with a request from the prosecutor for a substantial pay increase. But also he is serving as civil counsel for the county board of commissioners. And I think that needs to be talked about as part of the total discussion about compensation. So that being the case, I would move that we table this matter to next month's meeting and take up the joint items of prosecutor's compensation and the status of his civil counsel contract with the county, so we can consider it as one package. That's my motion.
I'll support.
Any discussion?
So the idea of this is just to look at the corporate counsel for the board portion of it, right? And then also to the increase in the salary.
Yes, that's the intent of my motion. So we look at both. We'll get a copy of the agreement we currently have, so we can look at that, because that's a $17,000 item. We can look at the whole thing as a package.
So this will be at the June committee of the whole meeting?
Yes.
I just want to make sure we will settle this at the June committee of the whole.
I'm sure we'd all like to settle this with finality, but there's no sense in having two different meetings on the same interrelated issue, which is the civil counsel compensation and the prosecutor's compensation. This would put it all in the same meeting, one comprehensive discussion. The board can decide what it wants to do on both topics relating to the prosecutor.
So we would deal with corporate counsel pay, that, and then also the separate wages.
Exactly.
So there's no, do we know, are we going to look at, we're gonna look at the corporate counsel portion of it because we don't feel that that's correct, or?
That's up to the board. I think we ought to have the full discussion on that. I don't believe most commissioners even had a copy of the corporate council agreement. So I'd ask the administrator to provide us with a copy of that, so it'll be part of that discussion.
Any further discussion?
Just in general, I think having the county prosecutor as an elected official representing another set of elected officials kind of comes across a little bit of a conflict of interest. I did do some cursory research on this, and I couldn't find another county that uses their prosecutor in this manner. So this is something that definitely needs to be looked at. I agree with Commissioner Howell, especially if we're gonna, prosecutor gets extra money, $17,000 for being the special counsel, and getting the increase in salary. I think that needs to be factored in to that.
Is the scope of his obligation as corporate counsel isn't necessarily to represent 7 board members, is it for other factions in the administration and all too, is part of his obligations and accountability for the $17,000 for corporate counsel pay? Is that correct?
Yes.
So it's not just for us.
Right. Once you see the full agreement, you have it, we do cover everything, right?
Reviewing contracts.
Should that have been provided to us? I mean, we're gonna get it, obviously, but.
Well, that's why I'm making the motion, because I think the whole board needs to be informed as to what the current agreement is. So you can look at the package, the compensation, whether it's the appropriate place to have civil counsel. I think the whole thing is bound up together, and it'd be much more easy to put this thing to bed with some finality once we look at everything at the same time.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, for sure.
Okay, any further discussion? So we have motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, that brings us to our second public time. Is there anybody from the public who would like to comment during the second public time?
Hello. I do not like to come before the board and waste your time and not have my thoughts in order, but I need to today. I just received an email from John Bussell that they have canceled our reservation for my son's wedding in 5 months. It is paid in full. The save the dates have been sent out. There are no other places that are available for our wedding. They liked to offer that the Masonic Temple was available for our Catholic wedding, thank you. That is so typical that a problem gets brought forward, and instead of fixing it, it is canceled. They've had the time, they've had the money. And I'd like to ask you, who would like to call my future daughter-in-law and let her know that? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public like to comment during the second public time?
Carol Windner in that township, I know a mother's heart. And that's what this is all about. She was a mom, taking care of business, went to the facility to check that facility out, to make sure that facility was safe and beautiful for her son and daughter-in-law's wedding. And what did she do? She got slapped in the face when she brought that to whoever she brought it to. And they cancel. I'm disgusted. And what's going on with her? It's because she feels like this is her fault. Because she opened up a hornet's nest. And that's the worst part of it. And I explained to her, When I was on the school board, I was a trusted mom. And my daughter's friends would come to me and they would say, on a number of occasions when they were in a bad situation, they would come to me and they would say, hey, this is happening. And I would stop them and say, just to let you know that if you, whatever you tell me, if you tell me something that is a danger to you, that I have to go forward with this. I have to go to someone that will protect you. So you have the choice right now to stop and don't tell me, or you can trust me that I'm going to take care of business. So I feel her heart. I know it's interesting to me that the gentleman from MSU, first of all, please fix it. Fix stuff. That would be fabulous. That would be fabulous if that would happen. 5 months. People have built a house in 5 months. It's interesting that the gentleman from MSU said the Thumb has the most agriculturally rich land. So guess what? I think we need to protect it from solar farms. And also this, after the last meeting, I sent an email to all the board members about a couple of things, and I didn't know if you had gotten them, and so I had contacted my commissioner and asked him if he had gotten it, and he checked his junk mail, and there it was. So as new commissioners, I would ask you to please not only check your regular mail, but please check your junk mail, because my email address is not a governmental email address. It's an email address that I've had since I was on the school board, and my middle school daughter made it up for me, so that was a long time ago. So it's not going to be, quote, an important email address. So it's not going to go straight, it might not go straight to your mail. So please check your junk mail. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public like to comment during the second public time?
Good morning. Heidi Brodsky, Lapeer Township. I'd like to talk about something that was said by one of the commissioners at the last meeting. And I've also heard it from the library director, who was part of her denial for my request to remove a certain book. And I've heard it from the community about, I believe the comment here was, it should start at home. Protecting your kids from inappropriate material should start at home. And I do agree with that, it absolutely should. But my question is, what about when it doesn't? You know, I consider protecting minors from not just the one book that's on everybody's mind, but there's a lot of material in the library that just is not age appropriate for children. And since there's no, adult section, some of the material is stuff they shouldn't even be thinking about, and their minds are not mature enough to even process it, So it's a really important, to me, a basic need of the child to have their emotional needs protected by their parent. But when it's not, what do we do as a community? Do we just say, well, sorry for you, you don't have a responsible adult to keep you from looking at these things? If a child's not fed at home, do we just say, oh well, sorry, I guess you don't get to eat, you don't have a responsible adult to look after you? No, the community steps in. Isn't that what a community does? A community steps in and helps these children when their basic needs aren't being met. And I'm really new at learning our local government, and a comment was also made that by the board member that said that there's nothing we can do. And then another board member said, well, there is something we can do. So I personally don't know what you can do. But as far as funding, I know the millage, I voted yes, but I had no idea. At the time, I was completely unaware of all the questionable material in our library. So I would have voted no had I known, but the millage has passed. I don't know, the board, what your role is in that and distributing that money. I would ask that the library before they're given any more money is that they do something to safeguard our children from this material, whether it be make an adult section. A parent has to be with their child to get a library card, but they can't restrict any material. Maybe that could be looked at. I'm sure, there would be a lot of money involved in that and making a system where the child's library card is scanned and, okay, well, they're only allowed to check out this book. There's no ratings right now, so maybe there should be ratings, but I'm just asking whatever you can do that you do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to comment?
Good morning, Karen Roll from Metamora. I just want to speak in favor of having a vicious animal ordinance. In our neighborhood, we have to walk with pepper spray because we've got a couple of houses that have dogs that will attack. And we've had, one of our dogs was bitten by one of the dogs at the other house. We've called the police multiple times. Police told us to walk with our phones on video settings so we can video the attack as further evidence. It just makes walking, going out for an evening walk or a morning walk difficult. And there's not really a whole lot that anybody can do with it. One of our dogs was bitten, drew blood, so they did get cited on that one. But right now I have a blind dog, so he can't defend himself, and he gets very upset because he's very protective of me, and it's hard to walk with him when we've got other dogs charging at us. And I just want to make a comment. I'm not sure what's happened, but I don't like to waste paper and pick up agendas here because they're pretty thick. The agenda was not posted. The last thing that's posted online is the agenda from 4/27. There's no minutes or video from that meeting, and there's no agenda from this morning. So it says we can contact the clerk's office if we, need anything, but sorry, I check it like 10 o'clock at night or 7 in the morning. It's not there. No one's there to call. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to comment during the second public time? Okay, we're going to close the second public time, and that brings us to commissioner reports. Commissioner Howell, you want to start?
Yes, just a comment. Our policy committee meeting is tomorrow morning. Commissioner Hamilton, Commissioner Master on that with me. I appreciated Commissioner Nyza being available. He's the alternate, but we've got a regular forum. But we're going to be addressing, much like we just heard the comment, to make sure that the public is fully informed. Whether it's copies of minutes available, agendas, videos, we're going to take up that whole general issue and look at the rules of procedures in general to try to make sure that our public is properly informed. So that starts tomorrow, but it'll probably be involved in more than one meeting, I suspect.
Thank you.
Yes, last night was the Lapeer Rotary Club's Pot of Gold. It was a sellout crowd, and they sold a record ticket. $800 raised for Rotary. There was one lone ticket that was not sold, and we made it down to the top 20. And the table pooled their money together and spent $800 on the ticket, setting a new record. I believe Commissioner Nisley is going to break that next year with $1,000 to the Rotary Club, right? Lord knows I spend it enough at your restaurant, but at any rate, I too would like to see us seriously look at this vicious dog ordinance and the exotic pet ordinance. I know I'm a little bit weird when it comes to this, but I have and I'm going to say this publicly, and I probably shouldn't, but I have a huge fear of like alligators and crocodiles, right? I have a brother that lives in Florida. Obviously, we don't deal with that here, but there has been instances where you can go online. I'm not speaking out of turn here. Up in Caro, a guy was fishing, and there was a guy who owned alligators, and one got loose, and he had to shoot it because it was attacking him. So I would like to know where those are at throughout the county. So that's my piece. I'm done, but thank you.
Commissioner Nisley?
Yeah, the vicious animal ordinance, and I lived in the same neighborhood for 13 years with Karen, and I know what she's talking about. It is a concern. We've run into the same issues with that same neighbor with the vicious dogs. So, we understand completely. And the house I sold actually the new owner has a monkey. So, I don't know if there's any special consideration for him to have that monkey without animal control knowing about it. But apparently the monkey's young and monkeys can be very vicious too, so I'm not really know about that. But I do want to express my heartfelt concerns and I really feel bad for you on this wedding thing. You know, we are planning my daughter's wedding right now for October. It's in Charlevoix. I know how much work you put into it, and how much heart you put into it, your
I'm
family.
sure if you called today, the place would be open too, if you needed to rebook it. If it was canceled, then you had to rebook
Yeah,
the place.
yeah,
in 5
it's
months.
a very popular wedding venue up there, but, you know, I don't know what, I know this has been a very difficult process for us to try to digest with what's going on out there. It is the building's in disarray. It is gonna get fixed. It's just something that can't happen real quick. And I was very pessimistic about the chances of it being done for you in time, and now we find out there are more latent issues with that building that none of us, I think, were aware of. But I just want to tell you that I really do feel your pain, and I honestly mean that. My heart goes out to you, and I wish you a lot of luck. If there's anything I could do to help, I certainly would.
Yeah, no, I wanted to comment on the wedding situation too. And I don't know the details. Obviously, it was just decision was made this morning. In my opinion, where there's a will, there's a way. I don't know what needs to be done there. There's many of us that are versed in construction. I've been doing construction work from masonry work to shingles for 30 years. And, you know, if I have to risk my next few weekends to go and I mean, I don't know. I think it's unacceptable in my opinion, but you know, there are things that happen and you can't change it if it's a liability. Again, it comes down to money and manpower. You know, the solution, that's what that solution is. If obviously the building is not up to code, somebody made that decision. And I give you my word that I will extensively look into it and see what can be done and see if we can pull together some people and I don't know, we can talk to Mr. Bussell and see what we can do. So just, your concerns did not fall on deaf ears, I can assure you that. So thank you for your comments. And the dogs in Deerfield, I live in Deerfield Township, and we will get to the bottom of it. There's no reason that you should live like a prisoner in your own home. You know, I live on a dirt road. Lonsberry Road's right around the corner from us. We used to walk and run. And there were 2 German Shepherds down there that used to swarm us every time, and they bothered all the neighbors down the road, and nothing was done. And just one day they were gone. I don't know if somebody gobbled them up or poisoned them or what they did, but the dogs were gone, and there was no more issues. But it shouldn't be we wait till somebody gets hurt before we can do something. You know, we're not asking to go in and confiscate, you know, the animal, but you know, if you have a dog that's pitting people in the corner, lunging at people, then something needs to be done. There has to be a legal remedy. It's not just, well, let's just wait till a child gets bit in the face and is disfigured for the rest of his life. So, and I, again, mark my words, I know Commissioner Howell, we both live in the same township. We will do what we can to find a solution with Chief Horton. And that's pretty much my comments.
Yeah, I don't have much this morning, but I would also like to comment on the vicious dog thing. And I think I totally agree with everyone on the idea of we need to take care of the problems when there is a problem. But I also think we have to be cautious on how much we allow, how much authority we allow agencies and departments to have. For one, and I'll talk to Chief Officer Horton about this too, but on page 7 of this the new ordinance, it says private property, an animal control officer is authorized to rescue any animal on any property, public or private, in conjunction with the fulfillment of the duties and responsibilities in this regulation. No person shall refuse to permit the animal control officer, after proper identification, to inspect any premises in accordance with MCLA 333.2446, nor shall any person interfere with or resist the animal officer in the discharge of these duties and the protection of public health. That the MCLA law is a public health law, and I think that's how that's attached to that. But I just want to be careful because the 4th Amendment says you cannot come into someone's house or property without a warrant, and that's under oath. of someone seeing evidence there. So I do agree with, if there's a complaint, someone files a complaint and there's evidence, then absolutely, we ought to go in there and do that. But if there is no complaint, none of that stuff, we have to be very cautious with just saying, we can do this because we think that your dog is is vicious, or there's something that's not warranted. It has to be warranted first. We got to just be very careful with that. It is private property, and our Constitution does protect our individual liberties and our private property. So just want to throw that out there. That's the one thing that I caught in this. The other thing was the deeming the animals vicious. And another thing that I want really quick, poisoning animals. No person shall throw or deposit any poisonous substance on any exposed public or private place where it endangers or is likely to endanger any animal or bird. So if I put rat poisoning out at my house and my cat eats it, or the neighbor's dog comes over and eats it, or somebody eats it and like that, can I get now in trouble for that? Because I was trying to, so these are just things that we have to be careful of when we write these ordinances, that we're not taking someone else's individual rights away or the abilities away to take care of their own home, their own property. I just want to be cautious with that stuff. A few things, we'll have to discuss that. We will go through some of these things, I'm sure, but just want to say that. We have to be cautious with this stuff. That's it.
So to your comment about putting the rat poison out and your cat getting in it or whatever, I mean, we've all had mice problems, and we live in the country, you're gonna have that. You put it where the animals can't get it. And certainly somebody intentionally poisoning somebody else's dog, that certainly could be baited. I mean, take a steak and put it out by the fence, put some sort of poison on it. That's not right. So, but I get your point. But like I said, you have to look at it both ways. So, as far as the comment about it starts at home, and you're absolutely right. When it's not done at home, that's where the society, government, however you want to phrase it, needs to get involved to protect these kids. I certainly wasn't meaning to dismiss that, not at all. I think if more parents were participating more at home, though, we wouldn't have a lot of this. The other comment, I really think it's the library's board's responsibility. And I'm not for banning books. I mean, make an adult section. How hard is it? Do you know that a 20-year-old cannot go buy a pack of cigarettes, but they can change their gender? I mean, a 14-year-old can change their gender, but you can't buy a beer? It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And as far as Forest Hall, I truly apologize too. We did have a meeting out there Monday. We did get the report this morning from the engineer, and I do have an idea that might help you. So I'll talk to you when we take a break here. That's all I have.
I agree with Commissioner Truman as far as the animal control ordinance portion of part where officers going on somebody's property. I mean, if there's going to be any kind of search, I mean, we have rights to private property and not be subject to illegal search. If there's something suspected, I truly believe you need to get a warrant and present evidence, not just go searching around people's property. I do agree that we need to do something about the vicious animals. I didn't realize this was a problem. Nobody's talked to me about it till I was hearing from the public this morning. And The exotic animal thing, yeah, I'm with Brad. I really don't like snakes. So I think if people are gonna have unusual animals, we kind of need to know about that, particularly, especially if it's snakes and they may be venomous. That's a dangerous situation, so I agree with that. But I really urge you to look at the property search portion and try to come up with something else on that. As far as this building, Forest Hall, we were out there on a tour of that a few months ago. Even then, I mean, that building needs help. And in my opinion, I don't think county should have been renting it out or taking reservations without some kind of full engineering evaluation, which I just got a copy of this morning. This says it's dangerous. So it's unfortunate that reservation had to be canceled. I feel for you, but at the same time, the county shouldn't have been looking to rent it out until some of these issues were looked at. That's all I got.
Okay, just last comment for me, I just appreciate everyone from the public coming out and expressing their concerns. And this is how solutions are done, are made. If we don't know what's going on in the public, the stories with the dogs. I've got a short story from Commissioner Howell the other night. But when you have the people that come in that are affected by it, it's a totally different, there's a different feel to it, and it makes us, okay, we need a solution. So I just encourage everyone that's, out there, if you have issues, this is a place to come. And as long as it's within the county situation, or townships can't deal with it, and we can't deal with what's going on at the state level and the federal level, we can't control that. But what goes on in this county is for the most part, our responsibility. So, but thank you for everyone for coming out, and we just need a motion to go into closed session. If we need to read that motion.
I will make the motion to go into closed session for the following purposes. For the purpose of consulting with the county's appointed legal counsel, Attorney Carlito Young, and Civil Counsel Prosecutor John Miller regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with ongoing pending litigation in the case of the estate of Eric Overall versus Lapeer County, and to review and consider attorney-client privilege material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute, and pursuant to the Michigan Open Meetings Act, subsection 8F, to review and consider the contents of applications for employment related to the vacant county controller administrator position at Amy Cell Talent for the candidates that requested that their application remain confidential, with the understanding that all interviews will be conducted publicly.
Support.
Okay, will clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Hagedorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicely,
Yes.
Commissioner Mast,
Yes.
Commissioner Zender,
Yes.
Chairman Coleman.
Yes.
Mr.
Motion
Chairman,
carried to
can we take a 10-minute recess before we go into closed session?
Yep, so 10-minute recess, and at that time, we'll need the public to leave the room till we're done.
So be
with
back
the session,
at
and
10:55.
thank you.
Mike? Mike, did you and Andy want to stay for closed session or not?
Right.